Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello friends, thank you for joining me today. Let me get my monitor up and running here. There we go. Well, I am on the road again. Actually, not very far on the road. Only 30 minutes or so from Raleigh, North Carolina, my hometown. And I am happily painting a wedding reception of Tiffany and Jermaine. And Tiffany and Jermaine, I hope that you guys are watching this at some point. I'm doing this largely for you. You're just about to get married. I looked at the schedule, but now I forget. Maybe you already are married. Anyway, hello, my name's Dan. And I probably won't be able to broadcast very much today because I'm set up right here next to the DJ, and they will be playing copyrighted music, of course. And I'll get in all kinds of trouble if I broadcast while they're playing their music. So I am going to broadcast here just for a little while. And Tiffany and Jermaine, if you guys get to watch this later, then hopefully by the time you watch it, I will be working on this, continuing to work on your portrait in my own studio. And there, of course, I can control the music and stay out of trouble with the copyright police. So it's just a reality. Now, in a minute, I'll show you what it is that I'm painting. At the moment, of course, you regulars know, at the moment, I'm just doing purely abstract marks. That might be good enough. And I am, at the moment, happily all by myself in the lovely ballroom at the lovely Umstead Hotel in Cary, North Carolina. Let me adjust you for a minute, and I'll give you a quick peek around the room, or peek at the top of my bald head, whichever comes first. All right, so this is more or less the direction that I'm going to be painting, except that a little while ago I took the liberty of opening those curtains, and that's the modification I'm going to make. So I'm going to put Jermaine and Tiffany dancing right here. I'm going to move furniture, of course, so that I can put them there. That's no problem. And here's what the rest of the room looks like. While we're taking a quick tour, here's their beautiful wedding cake. There's the DJ, and there I am. All right. I'll show you in just a minute the photograph that I've taken. Let's see how well you can see this. Yeah, not too bad. And this is a composite. It's several things. It's the curtains open, plus this table right here is overlaid with an app on my phone, Layers, Photo Layers app, because this big table that goes right across the front, I'm removing that completely, and I thought it might be easiest if I went ahead and, in a sense, photoshopped in a round table over there to the left. So that's what I'm going to be looking at part of the time while I paint. And then, of course, happily, now this doesn't happen very often at all, I'm actually standing here looking at the view in which I'm going to place Tiffany and Jermaine. Does that make sense? Again, the difference being that I'm opening the curtains. Now, let me talk just for a minute. In fact, I'll talk to Tiffany and Jermaine. One of the hardest decisions I have to make is where to put the couple doing their first dance. And I went outside onto the patio, and it's a lovely patio, but they're not going to do their first dance on the patio. They're going to do their first dance in this room. So I just, Jermaine, I've made an executive decision, I think, as we talked about, by opening those curtains, even though in reality they won't be open, but it's more real to have you dancing in here with the curtains open than it is for me to paint you outside. Okay, so that's what I've decided to do. And a good question for anybody would be, well, why do you open the curtains? And well, let me just show you again what the room looks like the way it is right now. It is a lovely room. Everybody that comes in here will think it's beautiful, and it is, but it's not a good painting. Okay, so there's a couple things that opening the curtain does for me. The main thing is that it gives me a counterpoint to all the warm orange, violet, red, plus, in my mind at least, and I'm trying to think what would Jermaine and Tiffany like. By opening that curtain, we see some of the gardens, the plants, the landscaping outside, which the landscaping is quite nice. You know, everything at the Umstead is nice, as you can imagine. And so it sets the painting in. Oh, the painting was at the ballroom at the Umstead, and we see a little bit of the famous Umstead landscaping coming in through the window. Of course, it's not going to be the focal point of the painting by any means, but to me it feels like it grounds it, or geographically. I hope you agree with me, and that's my thinking. Anyway, the alternative was, in my mind, to paint you outside, and this way I get to bring the outside in, and I'm doing less fiction than it would be, because you actually would be dancing in this room. All right, so I'm going to get started doing some of the initial drawing, and some of the time in this video I'll be talking to Tiffany and Jermaine, and other times I'll be talking to my artist friends who I, of course, always enjoy teaching, always trying to teach and give art instruction. So here's one right here. By the way, I don't know if you can see me. Let me back up just for a second. At the moment, I'm using that old trick of holding a brush, closing one eye, holding a brush against the picture plane, which is always flat in front of you. It doesn't tilt like this. The picture plane represents the canvas. The canvas is always in front of you. Picture plane is likewise. So I slap my brush on the picture plane at the angle of the line up there at the ceiling, right? So again, now just another teaching tip for any aspiring artists who are watching me. Anytime that you paint an interior scene, the default setting, I'm assuming you're going to be, I'm talking about like inside a square or rectangle room. Okay. I'm not talking about if you're in a circle. Just if you're in a traditional square or rectangle room. Generally speaking, you want to face the far corner, well, one of the far corners, and you want to put that corner at the 1/3 place. You notice I have not put the corner of the room right in the middle. That would be awkward. I've put it at about 1/3, not quite 1/3, and that's all right, close enough. Close enough. I'm painting intuitively. Beyond that, it's intuition. And the open window, let me go ahead and make some of those lines. The open window is going to go about there, I believe. So the point I was making to you artists is the corner of the room, either here or here at the 1/3. That's just, you can violate that rule, of course. Every rule can be broken, and there's always a time that any rule should be broken because there's a contravening or an opposing rule. But generally speaking, that can save you. I probably had to think. I probably did waste some time, so to speak. I probably did spend some time thinking about that very thing maybe 12 years ago when I was doing one of my first several weddings. Is, how do you paint the inside of a cube? Which is essentially what I'm doing. I'm still doing the same, by the way, of holding my brush, and that's one thing that these long-handled brushes are particularly nice for that kind of thing. Let me give you a little better on my angle on my painting there. Hang on. I'm going to place Tiffany and Andrew. I've met Tiffany. I've not met Jermaine. What putting them, roughing them in, even just that much, horizon, the literal horizon, where the horizon is going to be in this painting. All the lines that I'm making right now, oh, by the way, no, I don't know. I do not want them exactly in the corner. There we go. Let's move them over a little bit. Some of you caught that probably, didn't you? You don't want them right exactly in the corner. No. And the angle, I'm going to be looking up at Tiffany and Jermaine just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to open my picture, the photograph that I took, because I do need to get the mullions, the boards, the dividers on the, so it's not actually a window, it's actually a doorway, but a wall of glass, if you will. Now, as you can see, I'm doing all this two-point perspective, flying by the seat of my pants, if you will. Usually pretty good, although I have made some crazy mistakes at times. I won't do it on this painting, but I'm not going to get myself all freaked out and worried. That would be moving things over a little bit. Changing my mind. I talk about that all the time. You early journey painters, don't be reluctant to make corrections, okay? As your eye can only see so much, you can only pick up so much information at a time. And to tell you that, so every time you look at the photograph, or every time you look, in this case, at the, if you're doing, like I am, so to speak, a plein air painting, I'm actually painting this view right here, which is a nice treat to be able to do that. Every time I look at the subject matter, I get a little bit more visual information, and I make adjustments, right? You know that. But at the same time here, with this 2-point perspective, 2 primary vanishing points, I'm really just drawing by principle, if you will. I'm just drawing the inside of a fictitious cube. So I'm going to make an adjustment right here. See, this is a mirror on the wall, and I just decided to move it down. Now that is both more accurate, which is not my major concern. My major concern is that it be attractive, okay? And having it where it actually is down a little bit, I do think is slightly more attractive than where I had it now. I need to look at those sconces. Here, there's one up close here. I'll point it to you real quick. Point you at it, I mean. So there's the sconce. 5 lilies and 3 curlicues at the top. It's kind of complicated, isn't it? I'm not, my job is to try to give the impression of that fixture. I don't have to render it. Oh, come on. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. Whew. For a second there, I thought that this app was not going to let me to blow up the painting, but it did. All right, so big curlicues, and those are, I think, called lily-shaped sconces. All right, so before I leave that though, let's do some furniture. So I'm going to put a round table over here, and this is where the photo montage that I put together is helping me a little bit, just a little bit. I can blow that up and see now what would that table look like if it was sitting right there? Because it actually is not. Actually, in reality, there's a big, long table right here.
I was thinking, why don't I give you just a bigger mat?
Okay.
We just got new carpet in here, and
good idea. I could have done that, but I'm happy to say.
Should we pull it up?
No.
Right there.
That should be plenty. Which way are you worried about? This way?
I just don't want to get it on.
No. Okay, 200 weddings. I haven't left a mark yet.
I understand.
But I haven't did those 200 weddings with you, so
yeah.
you have a good reason to be nervous.
Right? I mean.
Yeah, but sure. Thank you. That is a little bit safer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I do carry denatured alcohol. If I were to do something, which has happened, like I drop a brush. Denatured alcohol is the solvent. So I just want to, I do come prepared to clean up my messes. It won't happen, but thank you. This is great. And I will also put, you caught all that, didn't you? It is true. I'm not sure. It's 175 weddings. I'm not sure it's 200, but I don't want to get into the details with her. I've never left a mark yet. Hello, Uncle. Good to see you. Uncle Horatio 60. And I will put, of course, people, a few people standing up here in the background and people sitting around the table. I might, let's see, I might also do the wedding cake over here, even though that's not realistic. Again, I don't think that will matter. I'll put people back here. All of them will be thumbprint faces, of course. There are some wedding painters who do realistic, representations of the guests. I do that if I'm asked to specifically. The thing I do most often is I'll simply put the mother and father of the bride and groom in their appropriate color clothing. But that's usually as far as I go toward rendering anybody else. Again, unless I'm specifically asked. Okay, here's this little trick. Most of this is dry, except where the acrylic is piled up a little bit thick. So by doing this, I'm helping the acrylics to all dry more quickly. And because that's not very dry, I think I'll go ahead and do a pencil rendering next. Hello, Barbara. Now, I have no idea, of course, whether it's going to be Jermaine and Tiffany or Tiffany and Jermaine. I don't know, so I don't want to get very specific about that. But I can go ahead and get some more drawing. I completely forgot this one piece of the architecture right there. That's all right. One layer down, 19 to go. Yeah. Now, there's some kind of, who knows what it is up here. I don't know if it's a security camera. Anyway, it's a box up there on the wall. Let me see if there's one closer I can examine. No. So I don't know what it is. Emergency lighting. Doesn't matter. And of course, I don't need to put that in the painting. Duh. But it's a nice position for a little box. So I actually am going to include it, probably. At least at the moment, I'm going to include it. Whoops, after drawing that fixture, then I discovered I drew it too high, so let's lower it down a little bit. Changing my guesstimate about the perspective line just a little bit. Anybody who's watching me for the first time, yes, using pencils in this manner in oil painting, well, this is acrylic at the moment, of course, but it's going to be oil, is unconventional. This is not standard painting technique, okay? So don't go running to your high school art teacher. Say, teacher, it's okay if we use black pencils in our oil paintings. You're likely to get the look if you do that. So just be warned. I do it, but I'm weird, okay? So don't expect your art teacher to agree with you. Certainly, I'm sure this doesn't surprise you. One of the things I do try to do when I do a wedding reception, of course, really, I try to give a realistic impression of the furniture and certainly the flowers. That's pretty important. All of a sudden, I'm just wondering if I should bring the chandelier. I think I will. So this is, again, a little bit of fiction. In reality, the chandelier is up above the canvas, but I don't think anybody will notice if I cheat and bring it down into the painting. And it's unlikely that Tiffany and Jermaine will pay any attention to the lighting fixtures in the ceiling here this evening. But at some point, in the ease and comfort of their own home, when they're going through their photographer's 10,000 photographs of the wedding, and they look at anyway, who knows? Who knows whether they'll ever notice, oh yeah, that is the kind of lights they had in there. My goal is just to give a sense of this, of the room, of the space. Now, when I, oh, that head's a little bit too small. When I do a painting of the first dance, I'm always painting myself in a corner here, so it's a first dance. Are people really going to be sitting down at their tables? And if they are, they will most certainly be watching the bride and groom doing their first dance, right? So then I have to ask, well, do I want to? Yeah, I will. I'm going to make this person leaning and watching the first dance. Okay. The things I have to ask myself. Because, of course, some of what I'm doing at every wedding painting is fiction, right? I've already told you, I'm going to open the curtains. I'm bringing this down. This table's not actually here at all. There's actually a big table here, blah, blah, blah. None of that matters, really. I want to give it the impression. When they look at the painting, I want them to go, oh, that's exactly what it looked like, right? I won't give them a list. Of course, they can watch this video and say, wait a minute. That's not what it looked like. Too late. Another tip, perhaps, for if any of you want to do wedding painting or anything like this, let me back the camera up. I'm still all by myself. I can hear music going on out there, so the ceremony is over. When I take a picture of Tiffany and Jermaine doing their first dance, this camera will be right about here. Not here, but here. So I'll be taking pictures like this. And two nice things about using a phone is this does machine gun blast. You know, I can take 30 photographs in 2 seconds or something like that. That helps a lot, picking out the best photo. And the other thing is, of course, I'll be painting from this screen, and I wouldn't want to paint from a traditional camera, like might have a 1.5 by 2 inch screen. That'd be kind of small. By the same token, somebody might say, well, if painting from this screen is good, wouldn't it be better to paint from, I've got over here an iPad? The answer is no, no, no. The smallness of the screen is actually part of the secret weapon here. Part of what makes it work is the fact that the screen is small and it helps you see large relationships. All right, I interrupt myself though. Why am I taking a picture of the bride and groom from down here? So glad you asked. Easiest way to put it is because I want heroic proportions. They will be the closest people to the camera in my painting, closest to the viewer, us. Everybody else in the painting is further away, so if I shoot them like this, they will be large and people who are far away will be smaller, which is what you can see already taking form here on the canvas. See, here's Tiffany and Jermaine's heads, good angle. You don't want to, usually you don't want to shoot down at people. It's awkward, not our best angle, so to speak, usually. Okay, so that's just a little tip. So I remember when when I was shooting this room, I was trying to remember to take a low angle, because you can really get into trouble if you shoot the environment from, like this, like a snap shooter, clickety, clickety, click up here, and then you take the bride and groom from down here. You'll have perspective issues. Are you following me? Trust me, you'll have perspective issues. If you can't see why, then just trust me. Go for it and make that mistake. It's a mistake you'll make once. Well, you won't be, maybe, you might not be able to figure out what's wrong. Why does this look right? Well, I just gave you the answer, okay? The environment and the perspective of the environment and the perspective of the bride and groom are two separate photographs, you understand? And they have to jive together. And so having them both taken at about sternum height, chest height perhaps. All right, I think I can do some glazes here. And these pencils, and they say, well, they smear. Well, they do indeed. They do smear. As is the case with many things in art, especially like watercolor, you just have to use that smearing property to your advantage, not to your disadvantage, okay? So basically, I try to just rub the pencil, the painting, one time. I'm not going to go over it and over it and over it, okay? So that's all I'm going to do there. By the way, that's my first blush at the blue light coming in through the window. Hey, while I'm on the subject of blue light coming through the window, I've opened a can of worms for myself by introducing outdoor light, natural light, sunlight coming into the room, okay? Because now I have a conflict. Don't worry, I already knew it was coming, so it hasn't taken me by surprise. In my opinion, you can only have one major light source. In a painting, you cannot have conflicting light sources. Now, I'll poke a little fun here. Thomas Kincaid notwithstanding, okay? He was famous for having multiple science fiction-ish light sources. In his paintings, but
Tiffany, you want me to put the lights on the way they will be? Yes.
all right, so I'm done with the glazes. I mean, one glaze, I should call that. Done with the glaze for the moment. And opaque white layer. Again, for anybody who's new to my channel, little explanation. These are acrylics, of course. All the colored ones are about 50-50 fluid acrylics and pure and transparent acrylic medium. Okay, so they, as you can see by the painting, they go on transparent. White, of course, does not have any acrylic medium in it. That's just pure out of the bottle. And this is, for some reason, always one of my favorite phases. Is my first white layer. Forgive me, I'm going to stand right in your way here for a minute. So what I'm thinking about when I'm painting this layer is anything in this scene that is light, not white. I'm using white paint, but I'm not painting white stuff. I'm painting anything that is light, that's light with an L, all right? Light value, I'm thinking values, not color. I stress that because that seems to be a point that when some of my students are trying this technique for the first time, they get confused by that. And they're using white paint, so they think we're painting white stuff. We are not, we're painting light, not white. Many, many, many layers are going to go on top of this white. Now, oh yeah, I think adding this chandelier up here at the top of the painting is a good idea. All of a sudden I'm sensing that even more. Okay, and I think Tiffany's can go over here. Not positive, that could change, of course. And lots of candles, so let's do a little bit of first hint at candles on the tables.
That's definitely going to be the hard part.
Now I'm just doing the segments of the wall that are lighter in value as opposed to the sections of the wall that are darker. I might pick up my camera. I might take a break here in a minute. The guests are out nearby, as you can hear. And I might go take some pictures. There's a possibility. This has happened to me one time. Paintings that I got about this far on the painting, and the bride and groom said, no, we don't. I hope they don't say that, especially I hope they don't say that because I feel like this painting already has a nice structure to it. I'm just happy with the position of the bride and groom there. His head is right in the corner. I need to fix that. I need to move them over just a little bit. No problem. But I sort of like the flow. A fancy centerpiece plant over here, and so on. So I don't think that will happen. But if, just in case it does, I'll let you know it'll be the second time. Plus, this needs to dry for a while. So I'm going to take a little break, okay? Thanks for watching. Thanks for your chats. Oh boy, a whole bunch of chats that I'm ignoring completely. Uncle, that's funny. Hiding in the basement. 50 layers. a traffic sign. What a great idea. Uncle 60 is asking about my 8 by 10 foot canvases, and I use ungessoed, yeah, the cheapest I could find, almost. I use, I forget what weight, fairly heavy.
You said you're a musician, it's like you're an artist to me.
That's right. Pretty heavy. Is it cotton duck? I don't know, it's cotton canvas anyway. And then I gesso it at least 2 layers, sometimes 3. It's a pretty toothy, pretty grainy surface, which actually, when you're doing 8 by 10 foot painting, that grain in the canvas helps keep you abstract, so you can't quite, break out the tiny brushes and get bogged down. All right, break time. Thanks for watching. I think I'll keep this broadcast going. All right, are we back? We are. Hello, friends. Thank you, a few of you, for hanging in there. That's a bit much to ask, isn't it? People to keep their YouTube channel on while you're seeing nothing for 25 minutes. Anyway, good to be back. So I went down and met the groom and the photographer and chatted with the wedding planner, had a good time. And during that time, of course, all of this had time to dry, so that's nice. That means I can go into it with wet paint and not worry about anything mixing. I still don't know. It's going to be Jermaine and Tiffany or Tiffany and Jermaine. I do not know. There we go. The skeleton of a chandelier up there. I'm using some brown right now on my brushes, which is actually quite unusual. I've gotten so that I rarely use brown in the entire acrylic underpainting process. I'm just doing it now because it's such a convenient color, because the room is going to be so warm. It's just a convenient way to get it. Yeah, the tablecloths are not white. They're not this dark either, but that'll get us started. A couple thoughts, if you will, again for you, any aspiring artists who may be watching. A couple thoughts about painting groups of people. I mean, I've never made a point of calling myself an expert at painting crowds or groups of people, but it is true that I do an awful lot of it. It's something I very much enjoy doing. So I'd be out on the street painting. There'd be, any kind of festival whatsoever. 4th of July, New Year's Eve, some local, big shindig, all kinds of things. But in a festival setting, of course, there's lots of people. That's the reason. It's the reason for having a festival. And so I got in quite the habit of painting crowds of people, and then of course weddings. Now, not all of my wedding paintings have crowds. Some of them it's just the bride and groom, and that's all. But it just depends on the setting. And in this particular case, bride and groom, and the room, for those of you who missed it earlier, there's essentially the angle that I'm painting. Zooming in from that a little bit, except that I took the liberty a while ago of opening those curtains because I knew. So that part of the painting is going to be fiction. I don't think my clients will complain because it will be a nice fiction. Right now I'm spreading out the bits of, boy, you know what? It's a lot more human in here than I would have thought because that white stuff that I left for 25 minutes is still not dry. That does present a challenge. So I'm spreading out, smearing out the thick areas of acrylic so that they'll dry slightly more quickly. And it's important when you do that you use long fat. See, it's an attractive mark. And you'll notice also that almost all of the marks when I'm smearing like this are almost at a 45-degree angle. Again, because those are more attractive than horizontal or vertical. A little bit of explanation about my program tonight. When the DJ starts playing his music, I will need to either stop broadcasting or broadcast only without any sound. Because, believe me, YouTube will be all over me if I broadcast while they're playing music. So I imagine most of the night I will be painting without you guys watching. Sorry about that. If I find myself doing something particularly interesting, I might broadcast without sound, which is, and later on at home in my studio, of course, I can add music to those quiet bits. Okay, so that's my second layer of blue. Some of you might have wondered the first time I painted it blue and then I did white on top of the blue, and some beginner might have said, "Oh, why'd you paint it blue if you're just going to paint white on top of it?" Well, the reason is because I didn't cover all of it. Secondly, much of the white was actually slightly translucent, so you can actually see through it a little bit. I'm assuming that makes sense to you. And I think what I'm going to do right now is actually another layer of white. And get this, you thought it was crazy the first time. I'm actually going to do the same thing again the second time. That is, do white on top of that blue. Because, of course, I'm not covering all the blue, and even the white that I'm putting on is technically, I call it opaque white, but it's actually translucent. You can actually see through it, okay? And I think I started talking about how to do groups of people and then got distracted. That's one. Number two, make them leaning. And I don't think I've got them quite leaning quite enough in this painting yet. So I was thinking about that at the time, but I've lost some of their lean because it's easy to make them all standing straight, again, like soldiers on review, and you don't want that. So there's two tips. Put them in groupings, and make sure they're not standing all straight, because that's not natural. That's not how people stand. All right, but I have painted myself into the proverbial corner right now, because now I have wet white paint on the canvas, and I want that to dry so I can do the next layer without smearing it. And I think at this point I'm going to end this broadcast, and you're just going to have to trust me. So if you click the bell, you'll get a notification from me when I start broadcasting again. So that might be, if you haven't done that, that'd be a good excuse to do it. Otherwise, you won't know. So the basic situation here is, if I have the freedom to start broadcasting, I will. But at the moment, this needs to dry. So we'll see. And I might